And then in 2020, Young Buck joined, and I think that fixed a lot of things.
Even to get a coach like that's ridiculous. If people don't know it, he came right off the back of Fnatic when they were still like going to Worlds and second in all this. And obviously his last run at that point was mental, wasn't it? It was like the 6 championships, the elite team, and then suddenly he's in your team. You had to think that was like, this is the last piece, right? He's going to take us to the top.
Yeah, he was like someone I looked up to, was like, this guy's done a fuck ton, so I'm just going to listen to him and shut up. But it wasn't just like game stuff. He knew how an org should be run. He knows you need a manager. He knows you need this, you need that, you need this house to be fucking tidy once in a while so these people aren't living in the fucking dumpster fire. He knows how to tell people to piss off if they're trying to put their hands on the roster or try to fix things or try to watch scrims, tell them to leave the room. Like, he knows how things need to be run. And that made it so much easier to just focus on the game rather than just getting shit thrown at you all the time. And he built the roster. He brought in Patrick, who I played with on H2K. He brought in Torin, who I played with a couple of years ago on Schalke. And I had Expect and I had Mickey, and I was like, fuck me, this roster is actually like, I think we could do some damage. And I thought we were doing damage. I thought we were doing great, but we didn't make playoffs in spring split or summer split. I think we broke the record twice for 7 wins in spring, not making playoffs, and 8 wins in summer, not making playoffs or something. Something like that. We broke the record twice. But I think from scrims alone, we were a top 5 team. We were actually really good.
Okay.
It's obviously something that I can't really back up or anything, but in scrims, Mickey was a fucking monster. He would play things like Pantheon and Kiana, and he would have like that Korean play style of just impossible to kill him, but then just makes picks on side lanes everywhere, just playing his own game. Patrick and Torre were like the carries, and then all I would do is I shifted away from this carry jungle style of like Graves and Nidalee and stuff from 2019 to just tank junglers. I would just pick like Trundle or Sejuani or Set, Volibear, and just try to dive every side lane. But it's a shame. I think if we would make best of 5s, I had players that were good in best of 5s. Like Expect, I think in a best of 5 is a player who would do really well. Mickey, Torre, Patrick, these players were pretty experienced. Because Patrick was on Origin, right? And they made a spring finals. So, and everyone was getting along really well. The roster was so happy together, but there was a lot of conflicts. I remember what happened was spring 2020, LEC messaged all the teams and said, hey, before week 1, we want to do some tech checks on stage. Does anyone want to come and scrim in the studio? And no one said yes, apart from us and SK, I think. So us and SK went there. We did a best of 5 against each other on stage, just as a scrim environment, and we got destroyed. We lost like 4 games in a row. And on the 4th game, Mickey exploded at Expect, and they were like shouting and screaming at each other Korean, like it almost got physical. There was like doors being slammed. It was horrible. So already in like the first week before the LEC started, like trust had been almost broken, but then they slowly made it back together. There was so much drama. Like we also had an issue where in 2019 summer, one of our, I know I'm like ratting a lot of things out here, but these things just built up to the point where things exploded, and those explosions just hurt relationships.
Right.
And I remember really well, I won't say who it was, but we had a coach at the time, and we were watching a game backstage. This was an hour before our game, and this was another best of 1. If we won this best of 1 against, I think it was like a mid-tier team, we would be in playoffs. But for some reason, one of the coaches is watching this game, because we can see it in the studio 1 hour before. I think it was like Wunder on Yorick or something. And he's like 1v2ing a gank. And Expect didn't like Yorick that much, I think, and didn't want to play it. And he had like this set opinion that it wasn't a good champ and he wants to play something else. I think this was how it went. And he was like, wow, look at this Yorick. He's so good, like taunting Expect. Like, Yorick is so OP. Why can't we play Yorick? Imagine if our top laner could play Yorick. And Expect was like, you can't really piss Expect off. But he was like, hey, that's so funny, you guys joking, like in his broken English. Please stop. Like, I want to focus on our game. And the coach just kept going and going and going, like, oh, Yorick, look, what if we B1 Yorick and just don't tell Expect, la 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 la. And then Expect like screamed and like grabbed his water bottle and threw it at the wall and said like, shut the fuck up, and started screaming in Korean and slammed the door. And now we're playing in like 40 minutes in our best of 1. Like, What has my coach done to my top laner, man?
Like, destroyed his mental completely.
Yeah, and he like, it wasn't just anger, like he flicked. And I could see him, I went to find him like 50 minutes later, and he was like shaking, his face was red, like he was proper, like absolutely enraged. And I was like, we need to focus on this game. This is like week 3. just like, please, I just need you to calm down. Like, we can beat this team. We're really good. Like, don't let this get in your head. I was trying to give him as much pep talks as possible. He slowly calmed down, and then he grabbed the Red Bull. I remember he like undid the Red Bull, downed the whole thing in about 5 seconds.
Then he's going to crash halfway through the game already.
He just scrunched the Red Bull, threw it on the fucking floor, went on the stage. Even more jitters. I could see him shaking in draft.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, we're so fucked. Like, what the hell are we doing, man? And then, of course, we lost the game. But that relationship took like a week to fix. And it's just things like this where if people could just shut the fuck up and just focus on themselves for one day, like if you have a problem with this pick or whatever, just sort it out on a Monday or a Tuesday, man. Like, why are you doing this 1 hour before we have to play fucking Vitality or something? Like, please, we can beat this team. And now he's either not going to talk or he's just going to play like a degenerate. And I don't blame him for it. It's just, I don't think this situation should happen in the first place. And we had a few scenarios like that where a relationship would just break in the blink of an eye, despite the team being really good together.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.